a best of album is, I suppose, it's our opinion of what a best of should be, and you're always going to get people that are going to argue. But then I suppose you could argue any album we do is going to be debatable as to what people like and don't like, and so you really can go by what you like yourself. So we've chosen the album that we think is a best of. You know, with such a long history and so many albums, it's very, very difficult. It's just the same in a way as choosing a set for 2 hours to go and play on stage. All you can do is be a little bit on the selfish side and pick what you think is right.
When every good thing's laid to waste, by all the jealousy and hate, by all the acid wit and rape your lies.
I suppose from fairly early on I wanted to play, you know, sort of fast, aggressive music, but with lots of time changes and lots of harmonies, which the harmonies really like the influence of Wishbone Ash. A lot of people thought it was like Thin Lizzy, but I mean I like Lizzy as well, you know, but Wishbone Ash was really the main sort of harmony influence. But yeah, just to play like loud, brash kind of music, fast music, but with loads of melody in it, with interesting time changes.
Show you on my way. I just want to see your flow. I just want to stand and stare. See the blood begin to flow as it falls upon the floor. I'm Maiden, can be flawed. I'm Maiden, can be solid.
Well, the name Iron Maiden really came about just purely because you know I'd left the band that I was in, a band called Smiler, and purely because they didn't want to play my songs. They thought it was too many time changes, and they were more sort of R&B based. And so I was really thinking, oh, what am I going to call a band? You know, it's probably the most difficult thing, really. You know, it was just banding names about, and that came up in conversation. I thought, oh, that's a great name, you know. The making of the first album was a nightmare, really, because it was our first attempt at recording an album. Working with somebody that we didn't know anything about, really, or they didn't know anything about us, and we ended up pretty much well producing it ourselves. And thank God, the engineer Martin Levan was really good. You know, overall, I mean, for a first album, I thought there's some really strong songs on it, because I suppose they were sort of like a best of the songs we'd written over the previous 4 years. So it was a strong album. We didn't really take too much notice of the term New Wave of British Heavy Metal to start with, because it was a thing that seemed to be started by the media or whatever, and you know, we were sort of lumped in with it. And first we didn't really know what to make of it, really, but then as it started becoming more and more of a bigger thing, you know, they were talking about lot more different bands that we'd not even heard of from up north or whatever, and stuff like that. And then gigs started happening where we would actually do gigs with these bands from all over the country or whatever, which was really exciting. Started becoming a bit of an exciting scene. And we weren't really that aware of these other bands, only other than the fact that maybe one or two of them used to advertise in the Melody Maker, like in the club calendar or something like that. And we might have seen the name, but not knew much about them. And then you'd see the odd review or whatever, and gradually this whole sort of thing started happening. And it became really exciting, and we started doing gigs at the Music Machine with various bands. And you know, the whole scene started happening with like Saxon and Samson and Angel Witch and ourselves and Praying Mantis and people like that. And the whole thing started happening. It was really very exciting, and it was good to be part of it. You know, we sort of didn't mind at all.
Say it doesn't matter, ain't nothing gonna bother. The cost of an destination. I know my mental fires, the serious thing of mine. I know I just go crazy.
The first album we would have used Martin Birch on that, and funny enough, he said, "Why didn't you call me?" And we said, well, to be honest with you, I mean, he produced something like, you know, quite a few of our favourite bands. People like Deep Purple and White Snake and people like that, Black Sabbath and stuff. And we thought, well, he's just this, you know, top dog producer, and we can't, you know, we're not sort of worthy, really, you know. But I wish we had called him, because he was definitely up for it. I think Martin was very important for quite a lot of years. You know, obviously he was involved with most of the Maiden albums, really, and it was, you know, I mean, he was like part of the family, really. I mean, whenever we did a new album, Martin was going to be doing it. It was just a matter of course, really.
Life was black, was no use holding back, 'cause I just had to see what's someone watching me.
I think Number Beast was a turning point in the sense that, especially in the UK, where we really sort of, you know, the big hit single run, it was a number, you know, it was 7 single, and it went straight in #1 and all that, which is fantastic. And obviously, you know, we changed from Paul Diano to Bruce as well, which is worrying, and then to come through as very, very strong like that was really good. And it did really well worldwide, and I think we'd already done a lot of touring anyway, especially across Europe, and so we'd already built a very big fan base. I like to think that we understand the fans to a certain degree. I think, you know, being a fan myself and going to see bands and knowing what I wanted to see from a band or hear from a band, or from, you know, what I wanted to get from a band, of like, you know, with the album covers and everything else, I think is definitely helps in trying to understand, you know, what a fan wants. But as I say, you can't worry too much what a fan wants, because you've got to do what you want to do yourself.
But there were times when times begins, but on this battlefield no one wins. The smell of ice smoke and horse's breath, as a virgin into sudden death.
I mean, Peace of Mind was quite a different album. We had Nico on drums by this time, so that give a different sort of sound to the band. And it did really well worldwide. It was a very strong album. I think it was quite different to Number of the Beast. But it was a very strong album, you know, very well received. And in fact, it was my favourite album for quite a few years, really. So I suppose it was very important, you know, on the back of such a successful album. But you know, you can't worry, as I said before, you can't worry too much about what you're doing in the past. You just got to keep looking forward all the time. Maybe that's one of the reasons why we're still here. I don't know.
There goes the siren that warns out the air raid. There comes the sound of the gun sending back. Out for the scramble, we've got to get airborne. Got to get up for the coming attack.
We did a lot of touring. You know, we were really trying to play it, you know, as many places as we could, you know, just purely because that's what we set out to do in the first place. I suppose once we realised we were able to tour with success of the albums and stuff, we really went for it, because that's what we ultimately wanted to do. Somewhere in Time, I think, was a very different album, because we tried a lot of, you know, different things out. We tried, you know, guitar synths and this, that and the other on there, and we were just trying a different thing, and Adrian's songwriting came more into the fore, just purely because Bruce wasn't really writing at all. And so there was a few different things going on there. And I think it was still a strong album. We still had, you know, a big single with Wasted Years. When we came back to do Seventh Son, then Bruce was a bit more kind of involved or whatever, and which was obviously, you know, good to have everybody kind of like involved. And I think the really Seventh Son, I felt, was our strongest album since Peace of Mind. That's my personal opinion, because I mean, a lot of people really think of Power Slave as their favourite, but I don't know. I think really there's some strong songs on there, but I think Seventh Son is a very strong album.
Can I play with madness? The puppet stared at his crystal ball. Can I play with madness? There's no vision there at all. Can I play with madness? The puppet looked at me and laughed at me.
which was very nerve-wracking to say the least. I think the first 3 or 4 songs we probably played them, you know, so fast it was ridiculous. And I remember actually, you know, physically going up to Nick and saying, look, you know, we've got to slow down. It wasn't all his fault. I mean, we was all just, you know, so nervous, and because otherwise we're going to blow it. You know, you've got to slow down a bit, calm ourselves down a bit, you know. And it was alright after that, but maybe having that sort of nervous energy sort of gave it a bit of an edge or something, I don't know, but it was a really pretty strong show. And that was a great tour, Seventh Son. I really enjoyed it because, you know, the album was very strong, and again we had a #1 album in the UK with that, and you know, very fond memories of that tour, very strong. No Prayer was it's kind of a strange tour, really, an album, because Adrian decided to go. Well, I don't think he decided anything really. He wasn't sure what to decide. I think he was sort of undecided, which is kind of why he went from the band, really. But I think he wasn't really sure if he wanted to be in the band anymore, and that happened sort of right at the time as we were just going to go in and record the album. So that was a strange time for us. And Adrian had been in the band for a long time. And it was especially difficult as well because I'd always got on really well with Adrian, and probably out of everyone in the band I'd socially mixed more with him than anyone else, just purely because he's like into football and tennis, plays a lot of tennis with him and stuff. So it was really difficult, and he left the band at that time, so it was a difficult album to make. Yannick came in, new guy and everything, and probably gave us a bit of a kick up the behind at the time as far as like energy goes. I just try and write the best songs I can, really. I mean, in the early days, I mean, I suppose you could argue there wasn't any pressure because we didn't have a record deal or anything like that, so I was just trying to write the best songs or whatever. But then again, there was a bit of pressure because I didn't have anybody helping. Whereas these days, I've got less pressure on one end because I've got help from some of the others. But then you could argue there's more pressure now because we have to live up to like the last albums and stuff we've done before. So it swings and roundabouts, really. But I think you've got to really not think about what you've done in the past too much, other than the fact that you don't want to be repeating yourself. If you come up with something you think, oh, that sounds too much the same as something else, and you bin it out. But having said that, you just got to try and write the best songs you can at the time. It's no good looking in the past, you know, too much, and you don't want to live on your past anyway. You know, you're only as good as your next album. So songwriting, I don't think has ever been easy as such. It's not something you know. You can naturally come up with ideas, but you have to work at them.
You got to watch them be quick or be dead. Snake eyes in heaven, the beast in your head. You got to watch them be quick or be dead. Snake eyes in heaven, the beast in your head.
If you wanted to play something to somebody, I suppose probably, like, to my mind anyway, live stuff is something that would really epitomise the band, and that's why there's a lot of live stuff on this best of album.
Run your fingers down the wall, and you felt your next get crawl when you're searching for the right. Sometimes when you're scared to take a look at the corner of the room, you sense that something's watching you.
It was very much a change when Bruce left. It's similar to when I think when Paul left, really, because at the time when Paul left, we were still breaking and through in a lot of areas, really, and we'd already sort of broken through to quite a good level in the UK, but quite a lot of the rest of the world we were still breaking. So that was a very worrying period because, you know, when even established ourselves and you know, the singers going sort of thing. Bruce was a different thing because obviously we established ourselves. So in the sense that was some ways harder because I think it's very difficult to sort of get successful, but I think it's even more difficult to kind of sustain it. So to actually come through a change, you know, with you know, going to Blaze. I mean, you know, Blaze is an excellent singer and everything else, and we thought he was totally the right person, but we didn't have people who were accepting. And also, I mean, a lot of it's just down to making a really strong album. Again, that's open to debate, you know, from whoever you talk to, whatever. But you know, we made the strongest album, the album we wanted to make at that time, which I felt was the best thing to do.
Falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down, falling down. As soon as that Bruce had announced that he was leaving, I think that was a bit of a shock. Then I thought, well, you know, I never thought that they would pack in or finish at all. I thought, well, they're going to get somebody new in, aren't they? Because it's such a great band, you know, and they've got so many great songs and so many albums and everything. But I didn't really think about it myself for ages and ages. I just, I'll never get something like that.
I'd actually heard him like warming up backstage. He used to sort of wander about, which he still does. He like wherever backstage area he can find with a bit of ambience, like a toilet or somewhere or whatever, or a staircase or whatever, and he'll be doing his scales and stuff. And I was very impressed with the quality and the richness of the sound of his voice. And it was very different to the way he was sort of singing when he was on stage with Wolfsbane. And I thought the sort of sound he had when he was just warming up would really maybe suit us. And I thought, well, if Bruce ever does leave, you know, then we'll be calling him.
In a lot of ways, it was like a dream come true, because when you're in a smaller band, or in, you know, a lot of different bands, then you're forced to make a lot of compromises about your music. And one thing in Maiden, then you never are making compromises about your music. It's the way you, in rehearsals, the way the band gets together, the songs that they come up with, and what you decide together. That's the music of the band, and no one else gets a say.
X Factor was I think a very strong album. Some people say it's a dark kind of album, but I suppose there's probably a few more medium-paced kind of songs on there than we've had in the past. But that wasn't an intentional thing. It was just the way, you know, we'd written at the time. But I think Blaze has got a kind of a dark side to him, writing-wise and stuff anyway. And I think we just try to, you know, write the best songs we can. And, you know, Blaze, when he first joined, he said, well, you know, do you have any particular direction you're going to go in? He said, well, we don't do that. We never think, oh, we're going to go in this or that direction. We just write the best songs we can. And that's it, really. And it's not everything else, sort of thing. He was quite amazed at the attitude, really. He thought it was wonderful, because he thought it was just fantastic to come into a band that you could just do whatever the hell you wanted. And I think we took that even one step further with the Virus song, because we just wrote it, well, within a couple of hours, really. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, just sort of how it came together.
Without a conscience they destroy, and that's a thing that they enjoy. They're a sickness that's in all of mine.
We didn't give ourselves any limitations. We just said that let's sit down and see what we come up with, rather than say, let's come up with a song that's going to be a single, or a song that is really heavy, or a song that is melodic. We just said, right, let's sit down, and whatever we come up with, that's going to be it.
So four of us got together, me, Blaze, Jan and Davey, and just wrote this song in what happened to be a couple of hours. I already had some lyrics that I'd sort of had from a few bits from before that were written, with nothing in particular melody-wise in mind at all. And but they worked with it. Lucky enough, they worked with the basic ideas we were coming up with, and it was great. Well, Eddie really came about because we just had this mask, like a kabuki mask, which one of the roadies made for us. Eddie the Head, we used to call it, and we just used that, and then made a bigger one, and so we used to put it back above, or behind the drum where it should be, but quite often in the gigs were so small it'd be right above his head, and he'd have all this blood come out in the mouth, like all these blood capsules and stuff all over his head and everything. And Dougie Sampson was a drummer at the time, and he had blonde hair, so of course, you know, it was difficult to get all the red dye out of his hair at the end of the night, which we found hilarious. But the good thing about Eddie is that we didn't have to be on the front covers for a start, and it sort of means that although we've had a lot of success, we can still go to the local supermarket and not get sort of recognised too much and things like that. You know, you can do normal things, and Eddie, you can do anything with him. He's like making, you know, his worst face it was, you know, he's killed him off, brought him back to life, sent him off into the future, and mummified him, and God knows what else. So you can have a lot of fun with doing stuff like that, and with the image, and you can have a lot of fun designing stage sets and this, that, and the other, which is good. You know, it's all part and parcel of having a good time on stage.
Melt's a video game, and it's one where Eddie plays a very evil, destructive force in the universe. What's happened is Eddie has been taken to pieces, and various parts of him have been scattered throughout time and space. And you, as the game player, you actually have to go through time and space and various worlds. There's 14 or 15 worlds that you have to travel to and collect various pieces of Eddie before he can get them, so that then you finally do battle with him in hyperspace. So it's a completely 3D game as well.
I think it's something that really, the image of Eddie and everything, I think definitely, you know, it had to be done really at some stage. It's taken a long time to do it, the research and everything and whatever, and it should be a really good game.
But he's the same black bits black.
That'll be his
and
face
his
can be made
gums as
blacker.
well are slightly got a different colour on that one.
Yeah.
So we can black his face on that to make it darker.
This is developed by a British company called Virtual S, and so yeah, they're making up the whole game over here, which is good really, because we get to have a little bit of an input on it. You know, and just say a couple of things about how Eddie looks and a bit about the gameplay and stuff like that. So it's nice to be able to be involved, and quite exciting as well, to be involved in the development of the game.
And really, in the early days, we didn't really kind of set our sights too high, because for fear of being disappointed, I suppose. But obviously, you know, the success that we've had over the years and the thing that success brings and everything else, at the end of the day, nothing means anything unless you're still enjoying it, unless you're happy with what you've done and what you've got. And I mean, I can honestly say that, you know, I'm very proud of what we've done and the way we've done it. You know, I feel I can sleep at nights, you know, and really sort of enjoy the success because we've done it on our own terms, and we've been very stubborn. Which I think is one of the reasons also that we're still around, and bottom line is we still enjoy it. You know, it's really, it's important. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's important to go out there, tread the boards and still enjoy it. And I think the day we don't enjoy it anymore is the day we'll stop, but I can't see that being just yet.